There is a subtle but powerful truth hidden inside the statement. You were never meant to shrink for others. Stand tall. At first, it sounds like a simple motivational phrase, the kind you might find in a self-help book or on a wall poster. But when you look deeper, this saying cuts into one of the most profound struggles of human life, the battle between authenticity and acceptance, between being who you are and becoming what others expect you to be. We live in a world where shrinking has become second nature. From the earliest years of school, we are taught directly or indirectly to fit in. Don't talk too loud. Don't dress too differently. Don't share your dreams if they sound too ambitious. We shrink, not because we want to, but because we believe it's safer. Safer to hide, safer to conform, safer to let the world see a version of us that is smaller, quieter, less threatening. And here's the danger. Every time you shrink for someone else's comfort, you send yourself a silent but destructive message. I'm too much. My voice is too loud. My presence is too big. My dreams are too unrealistic. And over time, those messages don't stay on the surface. They sink into your core. They start defining how you see yourself. They start shaping how you behave in every room you enter. The cost of shrinking is authenticity. And when you lose authenticity, you lose your greatest power. You lose the very essence of what makes you unique. Let's look at an example. Imagine a child who is naturally creative, always drawing, always inventing stories. But every time that child shares their art, they are met with rolled eyes, or told to focus on something practical. That child quickly learns to put away the drawings, to silence their imagination, to shrink their creativity so others won't dismiss them. Years later, that child is an adult who no longer paints, who no longer dreams as boldly, who no longer believes their ideas matter. Not because they lost their gift, but because they shrank for others. And the same happens in workplaces, in families, in friendships, even in love. We shrink when we stop speaking the truth we believe in because we fear conflict. We shrink when we pretend to be less capable than we are, just to avoid making others insecure. We shrink when we suppress our ambitions, our talents, our stories, because we've been told that it's too much. But shrinking never truly protects us, it only suffocates us. This is why the saying tells us, stand tall. Standing tall is not about arrogance. It's not about pride or superiority. It's about presence. It's about refusing to apologize for existing. It's about living in alignment with who you are, without trimming away the parts that make others uncomfortable. Think of it this way. A tree does not shrink its branches just because its shadow falls on another. It grows naturally, unapologetically, reaching for the sky. And in doing so, it provides shelter, oxygen, beauty, and shade. Its fullness is its gift, and so is yours. When you stand tall, you are not saying, I am better than you. You are saying, I refuse to live small for you. There's a crucial difference. Standing tall is not a competition. It's a declaration. A declaration that you are no longer willing to shrink into invisibility just to make others comfortable. But let's be honest, standing tall is not easy. It means risking criticism. It means being misunderstood. It means some people will walk away because your light is too bright for the shadows they prefer to live in. And that's okay. Because the alternative, shrinking, costs far more. Every great leader, creator, and innovator understood this. They all faced the temptation to shrink. They were told to stop dreaming so big, to stop rocking the boat, to stop standing out. But they refused. And because they refused, they changed the world. Their refusal to shrink became their legacy. And so here's the truth. You were never meant to shrink. You were never meant to erase yourself just to fit the frame that others built for you. You were meant to take up space, to stand tall, to allow the fullness of your voice, your presence, and your life to be seen. The challenge for you is this. In the rooms you walk into, do you shrink or do you stand tall? Do you hide the fullness of who you are, or do you allow yourself to be seen? Because the world doesn't need another shadow. It doesn't need another muted voice. It needs you, standing tall, exactly as you are. Because the truth is, standing tall is not a one-time decision. That's not just a moment of defiance or a speech you give when you re-inspired. It's a daily discipline, a way of being, a posture you choose again and again, especially when the world pressures you to bend. To stand tall means to live in alignment with your truth. But alignment always demands courage. Why? Because when you choose to live fully as yourself, you are inevitably going to upset someone's expectations. Maybe it's your family who thought you would live a safer life. Maybe it's your colleagues who would prefer you stay quiet instead of speaking up. Maybe it's even friends who are comfortable with the smaller version of you and get unsettled when you grow. Standing tall disrupts the comfort of others. And that is precisely why so many of us shrink. We confuse other people as discomfort with our own responsibility. But here's the wisdom. Other people's discomfort is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to live your truth, to honor your calling, to become the fullest version of who you are. You can't build your destiny on the fragile foundation of someone else's approval. Let's ground this in an example. In the entrepreneurial niche, shrinking often looks like underpricing yourself, underselling your skills, or waiting for someone else to validate your idea before you act. Many brilliant entrepreneurs have failed not because their ideas lacked value, but because they shrank when others doubted them. They made themselves smaller in the marketplace, and the world lost out on the brilliance they could have shared. Standing tall in this niche means charging what you're worth, pursuing your vision even when it feels too big, and refusing to apologize for wanting to make an impact. But this principle is not just for entrepreneurs, it applies to every niche of life. In relationships, shrinking looks like silencing your needs so the other person feels comfortable. It looks like pretending you're fine when you're hurting. It looks like making yourself invisible so someone else can shine. And the truth is, love that demands shrinking is not love, it's control. Real love is expansive. It allows you to stand tall, and in doing so, it grows taller alongside you. The question is, why do we shrink so often? The answer lies in fear. Fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of being judged. Fear whispers, if you stand tall, you'll lose them. If you stand tall, you'll be alone. But this is the great lie of shrinking, because what you lose by shrinking is far greater than what you fear losing by standing tall. When you shrink, you lose yourself. Standing tall may indeed cost you relationships, jobs, or opportunities that were never truly aligned with who you are. But what remains, what you gain, is authenticity, freedom, and power. And those things are priceless. Think of a lighthouse. A lighthouse does not shrink its light because ships might find it too bright. It shines unapologetically because lives depend on it, and so do you. There are people in your life, people you haven't even met yet, who need you to stand tall. They need your story, your example, your courage. They need to see what it looks like to live without apology, so they too can step into their own fullness. But here's another truth. Standing tall is not about perfection. It's not about always feeling confident or never doubting yourself. It's about choosing not to shrink even when you feel fear. It's about saying, yes, I feel insecure, but I won't erase myself today. Over time, those small daily choices to stand tall create an unshakable foundation. So how do you begin? Start with honesty. Where in your life are you shrinking? In what conversations, in what relationships, in what spaces do you hold yourself back? Once you see it, you can start shifting it. Choose one area of your life and decide, I will stand tall here. I will show up fully here, and then expand, piece by piece, until your whole life reflects the truth of who you are. Standing tall doesn't just change you, it changes everything around you. It changes the way people treat you. It changes the opportunities you attract. It changes the legacy you leave. Because at the end of the day, the world doesn't need smaller versions of you. It doesn't need the watered-down, muted, filtered version you think is more acceptable. The world needs the full force of your presence, your truth, your voice. The world needs you standing tall. Now, let's bring this message into the reality of daily living. When we say, you were never meant to shrink for others. Stand tall. It is not only about courage in extraordinary moments. It is also about the small, quiet decisions we make each day. Standing tall means speaking up when your ideas matter, even if your voice trembles. It means keeping your values when the crowd moves the other way. It means setting boundaries, not as walls to shut others out, but as gates that protect your dignity. In relationships, this principle becomes even more vital. Sometimes love or friendship tempts us to shrink, to become less so that someone else feels more comfortable, but true love never asks you to shrink. Real friendship never requires you to betray your own light. If someone needs you to be smaller so they can feel bigger, they are not lifting you up. They are weighing you down. Standing tall is not arrogance. It is not pride without purpose. It is quiet strength. It is being rooted like a tree, flexible in the storm, yet unshakable at the core. And when you live this way, you give silent permission for others to rise too. Your courage becomes a mirror in which others recognize their own hidden power. So the next time you feel that pull, that temptation to step back, to hide, to play small, remember this: shrinking helps no one. The world doesn't need a smaller version of you. The world needs the fullness of who you are. You were never meant to shrink. You were meant to shine. So stand tall.